Wonderful day, wonderful day, wonderful day. This is your neighborhood Sensei Fouché, telling all y'all to stay woke. But relax. Take it easy. Don't get too serious. Even though you have to be serious. Be prepared. Get all your necessary tools. Be in the moment. Assure your presence. And always take notes. I want to welcome all of you beautiful followers, all of you beautiful people, all of you self-loving individuals and interdependent beings of light. I am honored to have this platform of shared information to converse with all of you. This is a joy and an honor to carry on from my mentors, Bobby Hemmett and Dr. Phil Valentine. Guys, I was studying 25 years ago when I was residing over on the southeast of this land of America. And my brother, my spiritual brother, as well as my growing up residential brother, you know, when we were rooming together, he basically provided a place for us to stay. He provided a place for us to stay. Again, I'm going to be specific because I wasn't honorable in return to such a giving person who still loves me to this day. And I thank him for forgiving me in that moment of my highest dishonesty and exposure. And this is also another reason of honor to be able to create this platform and enlighten others with the information that I research by choice and by commitment. I have the deepest of passion for what I do. And I'm all in, you know what I'm saying? Whole body, you know, feet, legs, neck, you know what I'm saying? I'm not worried about quicksand because I am highly assured and confident that I am swimming in clean ocean water. I gotta show love to my man Packboy Dolo. I always mention round the clock thinkers. And I encourage all of you followers to search that out. ROUNDTHECLOCKTHINKERSSHOW. Just look for the wolf. The smooth wolf. See me? I have glasses, you know, prescription. My man Packboy, he got the smooth shades. You know what I'm saying? Me, these are prescribed, necessary, you know. Let me also shout out the Treeway Winter Wear collection. He also passed me that beautiful piece of material in clothing. And yeah, I'm ready to rock that. Believe me, that'll probably be on my back tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? So I have to shout out the Treeway Winter Wear collection. Packboy Dolo, Round the Clock Thinkers. You know, you go over to that platform and he has links to provide for any visual inquisitiveness into the catalog within, you know, the Treeway Winter Wear and other packwear products. Also, this brother is so in tune with how I am committed in my directions of passion that he also provided this reference of documentation for me to dig into and become extremely familiar with all of these different philosophers within time. And this highly honored individual, Packboy Dolo, also honored the sir with a journal. He doesn't even recognize my favorite color is blue, you know, being a water sign, included with a ruler pen. I think it's only 4 inches in length, but this is a beautiful, beautiful journal. And I shared this because we've been covering chapter 10, the meaning of surrender. And again, the reason why I'm honoring these things in my monologue to begin this conversation is in my surrendering and humbling, my forwardness in being, these type of honors are bestowed to me, and I feel loved and extremely welcomed in a lot of circles. These things never happened in my life before at all, or very minimal, only by specific people on specific days, not just random moments. Surrendering, for me, is letting go of the ego and serving others authentically with humbleness in the aspect of nurtured, true nurtured love. And it may not come in the way that you think that you should have it. Because if you are lacking that love or understanding love, you have to be extremely receptive and have your ears extremely welcoming to what is going to be truthfully told to you. Not with malicious intent, but rather for the aspect of a weird revealment. You need to be exposed, and not to embarrass, but to be awoken in awareness as to, in your nakedness of existing, how that tends to resonate amongst others. You need to be revealed. And in that revealing, if you choose to not feel embarrassed and accept the exposure, the moment in that embarrassment to choose in calling will minimize once you embrace and accept exactly what you was, as well as who you are going to be moving forward. Surrender is the truth. The truth in who you are, what you have done, and what you are going to be. In that requirement, love will be discovered. Well, how can love be discovered when I feel like a fool? At first, you may be the fool, but if you withstand the moment of truth, you will be respected and honestly honored. And if you choose not to repeat glitched programming in continued succession, you will be admired as opposed to mocked in your forward footsteps. That is the meaning of surrender. For me, it's about letting everything go, admitting everything you've done, admitting who you've done wrong, making all the necessary apologies, without adding validated attachments. If you are able to put yourself out there, expose your nakedness, all those scars underneath need to be revealed. longer hiding these abuses is important in order for you to be in salvation. I mean, in simple, unfortunate circumstances with battered women, abuse will not stop until you have the courage to be honest and open and naked into the truth of what is really beneath you. What's going on inside? What's going on underneath? When an abused person, child, woman, man, elderly, finally speaks up and exposes those secrets, that is when the help truly begins. No one can help you until you help yourself first. As long as you are in denial, as long as you are covering up those abuses, those wrongdoings, having non-accountability, you will continue to suffer. Surrendering is freedom. You think of it as weak. People used to say, boys aren't supposed to cry. That makes you weak. That's untrue, because when you hold on to that resentment, it builds up to an uncontrollable point where you lash out with extreme violence or malice. You have to let it out. It is mature to let go. I'm going to cry all the time. That don't make me weak. What makes me strong is my commitment into my priorities and my responsibilities, and holding myself in the highest value of worth and respect, and expecting for others to honor how I treat myself primarily. But first, you have to humble yourself and expose your truth. And that's going to lead us again into chapter 10. Not even a verse, my fault. Chapter 10. Title of the chapter, The Meaning of Surrender. Subtitle into chapter, Transforming Suffering into Peace. Being cut off from your feelings is not surrender. Surrender each moment to the reality of that moment, knowing that what is cannot be undone because it already is. You say yes to what is or accept what isn't. Then you do what you have to do, whatever the situation requires. If you abide in this state of acceptance, you create no more negativity, no more suffering, no more unhappiness. You then live in a state of non-resistance, a state of grace and lightness, free of struggle. Whenever you are able to do that, whenever you miss that chance, either because you are not generating enough conscious presence to prevent some habitual and unconscious resistance pattern from arising, or because the condition is so extreme as to be absolutely unacceptable to you. You are so caught up into the misery and the anger that you will not make it your point to be present enough to be able to surrender to what is. Then you are creating some form of pain, some form of suffering. It may look as if the situation is creating the suffering, but ultimately, this is not so. Your resistance is. If you cannot accept what is outside, then accept what is inside. If you can't accept all those problems that are around you, why can't you accept the solution inside of you? Instead of focusing on the problems, focus on the solution. If you cannot accept the external condition, accept the internal condition. This means do not resist the pain. Allow it to be there. Be mad. Be mad to the point that you are sick and tired of being mad. This means do not resist the pain. Allow it to be there. Surrender to the grief, despair, fear, loneliness, or whatever form of suffering it takes. Whichever one is you, let it happen to the deepest degree that you are so sick of being sick. Witness it without labeling it mentally. Just feel it. Don't talk about it, just feel it. Cry about it. Be mad about it. Feel the deepest extreme pain of it. Embrace it. Then see how the miracle of surrender transmutes deep suffering into deep peace. This is your crucifixion. Let it become your resurrection and ascension. When your pain is deep, all talk of surrender will probably seem futile and meaningless. When your pain is deep, you will likely have a strong urge to escape from it. You'd rather run as opposed to face it, then surrender to it. You don't want to feel what you feel. Yeah, we already know that. It's terrible. You don't want to feel it. I don't want to feel what I feel neither. But it has to happen. And if you don't let it happen, you're a coward. Be courageous. You don't have to be a coward. And you know you're not a coward because you wouldn't call yourself a coward. So don't be a coward. And tell yourself to bring out the courage. It's like the Wizard of Oz with the lion. You know what I'm saying? He didn't have no courage, even though he knew the courage was deep within him. It was within his lineage and line. He just had to manifest it and bring it out. Let it happen. instead of overthink about how he's not courageous enough. Just be courageous. You don't have to be over courageous. All you simply need to do is be courageous, and do that in succession. What could be more normal? But there is no escape, no way out. There are many pseudo escapes. Work. You work too much. Be too much into your work. Drink. Yeah, alcoholic. Drugs. You know how that goes. The crack, meth epidemic. You know what I'm saying? Just OD. Take it to the limit. You know what I'm saying? Anger. I just want to. Projection. Suppression. And so on. But they don't feel free from your pain. Suffering does not diminish in intensity when you make it unconscious. You need to be conscious. You need to be extremely thoughtful of that pain. Don't just feel it without actually acknowledging it. You know what I'm saying? When you deny emotional pain, everything you do or think, as well as your relationships, become contaminated with it. When you aren't healed and able to face your fears, everything around you is going to be contaminated, or it will leave if it is in a higher state of being as opposed to you just existing. Don't turn away from the pain. Face it. Feel it fully. Feel it. Don't think about it. Express it if necessary, but don't create a script in your mind around it. Yeah, what I'm saying is don't fester it and overthink it. Just acknowledge it for what it is and feel that feeling of what it is. But don't over express it by labeling it and minimizing it. Give all your attention to the feeling, not to the person. Forget about the person that did it. Focus on the feeling, event, or situation that seems to have caused it. Don't let the mind use the pain to create a victim identity for yourself out of it. Don't go into the, man, this always happens to me. Why me? Poor me. Because there's a reason for that. And that's because you continue to be timid or the coward instead of courageous and enter perspective. Feeling sorry for yourself and telling others your story will keep you stuck in suffering. Since it is impossible to get away from the feeling, the only possibility of change is to move into it. Otherwise, nothing will shift. So give your complete attention to what you feel and refrain from mentally labeling it. At first, it may seem like a dark and terrifying place, and it is. To really get into the interperspectiveness of yourself is something that is so deep. You are so used to other people attacking you and you cowering yourself, then you actually pointing yourself out and taking it and accepting it for what it is because you know it's true. It's one thing for somebody else to say something about you and feel some way about it, but you should know the truth about yourself and be honest about it. Forget about the other person or whatever they say. What do you know? Because you know what the truth is. And if you know that that is deeply true, that's probably why it's affecting you to the greatest degree, is because what you was trying to hide from others is actually simple to be exposed. So give complete attention to what you feel and refrain from mentally labeling it, right? At first, it may seem like a dark and terrifying place, and when the urge to turn away from it comes, observe it, but don't act on it. Keep putting your attention on the pain. Keep feeling the grief, the fear, the dread, the loneliness, whatever it is. Stay alert. Stay present. Present with your whole being. Present with the depth and deep inside of you for the truth of what is and what you know is going to be because of what you always say you are or want to be. With every cell of your body. As you do so, you are bringing a light into this darkness. This is the flame of your consciousness. Full attention is full acceptance, is surrender. By giving full attention, you use the power of the now, which is the power of your presence. Presence removes time. Without time, no suffering, no negativity can survive. The acceptance of suffering is a journey into death because you're trying to be reborn, so you have to die. Metaphorically, literally, either and or both. Facing deep pain, allowing it to be, taking your attention into it, is to enter death consciously. When you have died this death, you realize that there is no death. And there is nothing to fear. Only the ego dies. Only that conscious con, that clown, that doofus. Die to the past every moment. Every moment. Die to the past. Kill it. It's a part of history, but you don't have to fester on it. Let the light of your presence shine away the heavy, time-bound self you thought of as you. Get rid of that time person, that time traveler. That ain't really you. You are beyond time. You don't need to be a time traveler. Why? Nostalgia. Why? You can't go forward smoothly when you are still holding on to what's behind you. And you're holding on to it so hard. Me, I just look at the past like, a history book. I'm like, oh, man, that happened. But it ain't happening now. I mean, it might be a little similar in some form, but it ain't the same thing. And I know who I am now as opposed to yesterday's. And it's a whole different story that I'm scripting. Yesterday's read was sad and pathetic. Since resistance is inseparable from the mind, relinquishment of resistance, surrender is the end of the mind as your master. That conscious con will be gone. Once you start overthinking and start deeply processing and just feeling and being. The imposter pretending to be you, the false god, gone, adios, no more. I don't call it finding God, because how can you find that which was never lost? It was always inside of you. It was submerged. You just didn't listen to it enough because you chose to treat it as a whisper instead of a loud voice. The very life that you are. The word God is limiting not only because of thousands of years of misperception and misuse, but also because it implies an entity other than you. God is being itself, not a being. It's not some mystery man in the sky. It's not some other person or some other thing. God is the highest point and being of you. There can be no subject-object relationship here. No duality. No you and God. God realization is the most natural thing there is. The amazing and incomprehensible fact is not that you can become conscious of God, but that you are not conscious of God. Wow. Stuck you, right? Let's read that again. The amazing and incomprehensible fact is not that you can become conscious of God, but that you are not conscious of God. The way of the cross that you mentioned is the old way to enlightenment, and until recently, it was the only way. But don't dismiss it or underestimate its efficacy. Its efficacy. It still works. Let's look up efficacy, because we don't want to get twisted on words. Efficacy. Just bear with me because there we go. The ability to produce a desired or intended result. So again, don't dismiss it or underestimate its efficacy. It still works. The way of the cross is a complete reversal. It means that the worst thing in your life, your cross, turns into the best thing that ever happened to you by forcing you into surrender, into death, forcing you to become as nothing, to become as God, because God too is no thing. We're going to read all that over again because I don't want people to miss it. And we don't have that much longer to go in this book. The word God is limiting not only because of thousands of years of misperception and misuse, but also because it implies an entity other than you. God is being itself, not a being. There can be no subject-object relationship here, no duality, no you and God. God realization is the most natural thing there is. The amazing and incomprehensible fact is not that you can become conscious of God, but that you are not conscious of God. The way of the cross that you mentioned is the old way to enlightenment, and until recently, it was the only way. But don't dismiss it or underestimate its efficacy. It still works. The way of the cross is a complete reversal. It means that the worst thing in your life, your cross, turns into the best thing that ever happened to you by forcing you into surrender, into death, forcing you to become as nothing, to become as God, because God too is no thing. At this time, as far as the unconscious majority of humans is concerned, the way of the cross is still the only way. they will only awaken through further suffering, and enlightenment as a collective phenomenon will be predictably preceded by vast upheavals. It is described, among other places, in the book of Revelation or Apocalypse through cloaked in obscure and sometimes impenetrable symbology. The suffering is inflicted not by God, but by humans on themselves and on each other, as well as by certain defensive measures that the earth, which is a living, intelligent organism, is going to take to protect herself from the onslaught of human madness. That is the end. As far as this physical earth, if it continues to be abused, but the way to God is through you, not through something outside of you. Enlightenment through suffering, the way of the cross, which is the resurrection, because you have to realize what is, be willing to go through the complete suffering point of what is, kill or be killed to what was or what is, and then you will be something else as opposed to what was. Enlightenment through suffering, the way of the cross, means to be forced into the kingdom of heaven, kicking and screaming. You finally surrender because you can't stand the pain anymore. But the pain could go on for a long time until this happiness, enlightenment, consciously chosen, means to relinquish your attachment to the past and future and to make the now the main focus of your life. It means choosing to dwell in the state of presence rather than in time. It means saying yes to what is. You then don't need pain anymore. How much more time do you think you will need before you are able to say, I will create no more pain, no more suffering? How much more pain do you need before you can make that choice? If you think that you need more time, you will get more time and more pain. Time and pain are inseparable. Choice implies consciousness, a higher degree of consciousness. Without it, you have no choice. Choice begins, the moment you disidentify from the mind and its conditioned patterns. The moment you become present, until you reach that point, you are unconscious. Spiritually speaking, this means that you are compelled to think, feel, and act in a certain ways according to the conditioning of your mind. That is why Jesus said, forgive them, for they know not what they do. This is not related to intelligence in the conventional sense of the word. I have met many highly intelligent and educated people who were also completely unconscious, which is to say completely identified with their mind. Just because a person is extremely rich or they are book smart does not mean that they are deep within their self-worth, their self-value, their self-love, their deepest of self-identification, their self-truth. The mind, conditioned as it is by the past, always seeks to recreate what it knows and is familiar with. Even if it is painful, at least it is familiar. So it almost sounds like a bad relationship. You know what I'm saying? You know you want to get out, but you stay in it because you're used to it. The mind always adheres to the known. The unknown is dangerous because it has no control over it. You already know what you've been doing, and you could be comfortable in it, even though you're unhappy, but that means you're not uncomfortable neither, so you're lying to yourself. But you're too afraid of what else is possibly out there because you more worried about what you won't have, as opposed to what you will have other than what you are carrying at the moment, which doesn't serve you well. The mind always adheres to the known. The unknown is dangerous because it has no control over it. That's why the mind dislikes and ignores the present moment. Present moment awareness creates a gap not only in the stream of the mind, but also in past future continuum. Nothing truly new and creative can come into this world except through that gap, that clear space of infinite possibility. Nobody chooses dysfunction, conflict, or pain. Nobody chooses insanity. They happen because there is not enough presence in you to dissolve the past, not enough light to dispel the darkness. The mind-identified state is severely dysfunctional. It is a form of insanity. Almost everyone is suffering from this illness in varying degrees. The moment you realize this, there can be no resentment. If you are run by your mind, although you have no choice, you will still suffer the consequences of your unconsciousness, and you will create further suffering. You will bear the burden of fear, conflict, problems, and pain. The suffering thus created will eventually force you out of your unconscious state. When you surrender to what is and so become fully present, the past ceases to have any power. You do not need it anymore. Presence is the key. The now is the key. The now is the key. Don't wait for tomorrow to make the conscious choice of change right now. If you're on a diet, or you plan on going on a diet, and you still have one piece of chocolate cake left, throw the cake away or give it away. Don't eat it and wait for tomorrow. Because even though you may not eat tomorrow, the moment you go to the store, you're going to look at the cake and be like, you know what? Maybe just one more piece. Because you already cheated before. So why not do it again and try to create a merry-go-round of a situation? I can't wait to get into the next book. I've really enjoyed covering this first book with all of you. The Power of Now, A Guide to Spiritual Enlightenment. Eckhart Tolle. #1 New York Times bestseller. An awesome, awesome read and an awesome, awesome share. And I look forward to a new book. And I am not going to say specifically what it is at this moment. We'll just wait for the moment to happen and go forward from there. Right now, I am going to wish all of you a wonderful rest of your day, wherever you are and whatever time of day it is. May it continue to be enlightened and full of love and full of truth. This is your neighborhood Sensei Fouché, telling all y'all to stay woke, but always relax. Don't get too overwhelmed. Be focused, be aware, Be present. Get all your necessary tools and documentations, and be prepared to take notes. Be smooth. 1.